Imagine you've been chosen for the most important mission in human history. A second Earth has been found just 4.4 light years away, but we only have enough time to build one Starship. What do you pick? Detonate 300,000 nuclear bombs behind your ship, surfing the blast waves to 1/10 the speed of light? Build an artificial black hole the size of a proton and use its insane Hawking radiation to push you forward? It sounds like science fiction, but these are real designs that physicists have actually put down on paper. Now imagine that tomorrow, the James Webb Space Telescope confirms Earth 2.0 orbiting Proxima Centauri, and we know for certain that a civilization killer K1 asteroid will hit Earth in 200 years. What does humanity do? You might think of warp drives or wormholes, but those are still pure sci-fi. The real question is, or do I? With technology we could realistically build in our lifetimes, where can we actually go and how fast can we get there? 7. The answer lies in the Alpha Centauri system, just 4.4 light years away, which in cosmic terms is next door. But our fastest crewed spacecraft, Apollo 10, would take 120,000 years to get there. If we really needed to flee, that's not going to cut it. Today we're breaking down the real roadmap for interstellar travel, from insane but feasible nuclear pulse propulsion to laser-driven light sails that harvest the entire energy of the solar system to black hole engines. Every single one comes from actual papers and engineering studies, not pure speculation. First, a core paradox. If you launch a ship that takes 100 years to reach a star, but 50 years later we invent a much faster engine, that later launched ship might overtake the earlier one, so launching now could be a waste. Scientists even have a concept for this, the weighting calculation, which figures out the optimal departure time based on the rate of technological progress. Pioneer Robert Forward seriously worked through this. At the moment, if we estimate that controlled fusion is still half a century away, a Project Orion-style nuclear pulse ship could very well be the first to arrive, sometime next century. But the price tag? You need to carry 300,000 hydrogen bombs on board. That sounds like a madman's idea, but it's actually one of the most serious interstellar studies ever done. From 1957 to 1965, Freeman Dyson and General Atomics actually submitted detailed designs for Project Orion, a ship propelled by nuclear bombs. The principle is simple: drop a thermonuclear warhead behind the ship, and its shockwave pushes the craft forward like a surfer riding a wave. Detonate one every second for a month, and you can reach 10% of light speed. At that speed, Proxima Centauri is just 44 years away, assuming you don't slow down. If you want to decelerate and enter orbit, you'd need twice the fuel. Making a one-way trip about 90 years, 3 generations, living their entire lives on board. Even though the 1963 Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty forbids nuclear explosions in space in an extinction-level emergency, the rules might change. More importantly, Orion inspired more elegant variants, like the 1970s Project Daedalus by the British Interplanetary Society, which used inertial confinement fusion microbombs, not fission weapons, but tiny controlled fusion pellets. Grey-Dat design could reach 12% of light speed, and was already at the engineering study stage. Still, we haven't even achieved ground-based controlled fusion yet, let alone put it on a spaceship. To understand all these designs, you have to look at the rocket equation. Velocity depends on exhaust speed and fuel fraction. Chemical rockets have exhaust speeds far too low to reach 10% of light speed. The required fuel mass would exceed the entire observable universe. So we have to go for high energy density options, fusion, antimatter, or carrying no propellant at all. Option 1. Nuclear pulse, fusion rockets. Pros: the basic technology exists, at least on paper. Project Orion only needed to scale up our existing nuclear arsenal by a factor of about 200, roughly 300,000 1-megaton bombs, and you could launch. Daedalus gave specific parameters, using deuterium and helium-3 with pulse frequencies of 250 per second, reaching Barnard's star in 50 years. This is probably the smallest engineering leap, but the hurdles are political, safety-related, and achieving uniform micro-explosions. Option 2. Antimatter engines. When matter meets antimatter, 100% of the mass converts to energy, over 100 times more efficient than fusion. Just 10 grams of antimatter could get you to Mars in a month. The catch? At our current production rate, using the Large Hadron Collider, making a single gram of antimatter would take billions of years. We'd need to increase production by a factor of 10 squared to gather the few kilograms needed for Alpha Centauri. Even if we could, storage is a nightmare. Penning traps can only hold tiny amounts of antiprotons for brief moments. Realistically, this is far future tech, but if we could pull it off, you might reach 0.5 C or even 0.8 C, and time dilation would make the journey feel like just over 3 years to the crew. Grand. Option 3. Laser-driven light sails. Carry no fuel at all, build a giant laser array in Earth orbit or on the moon, beam light at a huge ultra-reflective sail, and let the photons push you like wind. Breakthrough Starshot has already proposed an unmanned version. GRE, a sail a few square meters, accelerated by a 100-gigawatt laser array reaching Proxima Centauri in 20 years. For a crewed version, the sail would need to be hundreds of kilometers across, and the laser power would have to be tens of thousands of times humanity's current total electricity production. The advantage, no propellant, and you can keep accelerating, potentially, to over 0.2 C. Deceleration is tricky, but you could use the target star's radiation pressure to brake. Let's put some numbers in perspective. 4.4 light-years doesn't sound far, but if you scaled the Earth-Sun distance to a coin, Proxima Centauri would be 800 kilometers away. The 300,000 hydrogen bombs needed for Orion would stack up like a small mountain, weighing roughly 300,000 tons, but the ship itself might be tens of millions of tons. The antimatter drives few kilograms of fuel. If compressed into a proton-sized black hole, could radiate about 160 petawatts. That's 10,000 times the entire world's power generation. A single elementary particle-sized hole, outputting 10,000 times human civilization's energy, pushing a ship to 10% of light speed in 3 weeks. That's the Kugelblitz concept, using ultra-high energy lasers to create a microscopic black hole, then riding its Hawking radiation. Layer by layer, here's the reality. If humanity had to leave today, a Project Orion-style nuclear pulse ship is probably the earliest feasible option, but it wouldn't arrive until around 2120 at best. If we can build a breakthrough Starshot-like laser array within the next 30 years, an unmanned probe could fly past Proxima Centauri within this century and send back pictures with a 4-year communication delay. Further out, once controlled fusion matures, Daedalus-class ships could make interstellar travel repeatable. Antimatter and black hole drives are technologies for the next millennium, assuming our civilization survives that long. I have to be honest, none of these are engineering realities yet. Commercial fusion is still decades away. Antimatter production is measured in individual particles. And creating a stable artificial black hole would require laser energies even larger than what the black hole itself radiates, probably needing the entire energy output of a star. Also, Project Orion violates international treaties, and a giant laser array could easily be mistaken for a weapon. Massive political risks. But these explorations are not empty talk. Every Orion technical document, Daedalus report, and breakthrough Starshot white paper was produced by real scientists pushing the boundaries under extreme constraints. They tell us that interstellar travel isn't magic, it's a series of extraordinarily difficult engineering problems, and solving them might very well lie within the next few generations. So, back to the original thought, the first time humanity truly sets foot in another solar system might not be inside a ship, but riding a wind made of light. Which approach do you think will actually happen first? Surfing nuclear explosions, building a 100-kilometer sail, or waiting for a black hole engine? Let me know in the comments. And if you love these deep dive breakdowns of cosmic technology, don't forget to subscribe to The Last Signal. Every week we start from real papers and talk about the craziest yet most plausible ideas the universe has to offer. Do I see you next time?